So as you can see, the Sp1 is back up and running. For those of you that don't know, I was knocked off of the bike on Easter Sunday, April the 9th. Car pulled out of me, didn't see me apparently. I went over the handlebars, bike slammed on the floor. And if you're relatively knowledgeable about these bikes, you'll know that getting parts for them, majority of it Honda have discontinued, so that means second-hand parts are very expensive. So straight away his insurance company, because he admitted liability, thank God, even though there's a dozen witnesses that all said it was his fault. His insurance didn't even bat an eyelid, wanted to write it off, so I kept hold of the bike. So I'm not accepting that until you can give me a decent valuation on what you've got on the bike to know what the parts cost offset is, if you know what I mean. So I was advised quite cleverly to have a hire bike. So this was the daily cost to their insurance and will speed the process up, and they weren't wrong. I'm surprised by how quickly it was all resolved. Not that it's fully resolved, but still. So yeah, had a hire bike, GSX-S 1000. Kept getting phone calls from companies saying we're coming to pick your bike up, but flatly saying nope, you're not, no one's having the bike, stay with me until we decide what's going on. His insurance company were getting the help with me. I've injured my back, I had blood in my wee, a laceration to my kidney, so I've been having physio, and I still am having physio up till now. And I then got a phone call to say, right, we're getting an inspector out. That will be 4 weeks, which is obviously annoying as hell, because obviously his car was probably booked in a few days later, courtesy car. He drives around in a nice courtesy car for a few weeks, and then they phone him up after a couple of weeks because those parts are probably readily available and say your car's all done, come and get it, and it's all forgotten about. For me, even now, a couple of months later, it's still ongoing, even though I'm back on this beauty, and that's the main thing I wanted to do. So the inspector never came. They asked me for a load of photos, so I sent them a load of photos of the damage to the bike. I also bombarded them with eBay links, eBay screenshots and Facebook Marketplace, etc, etc, for bikes with a similar sort of mileage. Obviously none of them had Castrol livery on them because they're quite rare. Do see them about, but not many of them. And then they phoned me to say they were going to give me a valuation, and I was, to put it quite bluntly, shitting myself, because I was expecting a lowball offer, and I was expecting a long, thought out argument ahead. And to be honest, I had put the Fireblade back on the road because I just wanted to forget about this bike for now. So it didn't wind me up, it sat there doing nothing. I still had a toy to go out and play with at the weekends and do events on and stuff. Not the one I wanted to, but still. And what I wanted to do, and I thought of it in the long term, okay, I probably won't ride this again until next summer. And that was my standpoint, and it was a good standpoint to have, I think. Because I was quite blasé with the insurance companies and just like, no, I'm not accepting that, no, I'm not having this, I'm not having that. So I bought this bike, and people say it's quite vulgar to talk about money and this, that and the other, but I think this is what we're into, isn't it? This is, you know, getting that nice bike for a good price, and especially a bike like this, which majority of people would say is going to go up in value. I paid £4,000 for this. It wasn't running. The guy had no idea why it wasn't running. He thought it might be the alarm, so the alarm might need ripping off. He hadn't rode the bike for 2 years, hadn't been MOT'd for almost 3. And that's the kind of bike I like. If I'm honest, I don't want a show queen. It's tatty. I don't particularly like the paintwork, I don't like the green on it. So yeah, it took me a couple of weekends of my spare time working out why it wasn't running, getting it running, changing a few bits, sorting a few bits out on it. Hated the rear light holder with the two big circles on it, couldn't stand it, it looks very cheap. I don't know if you've seen, but I then ended up putting my Fireblade tank on it and it started up straight away because I ripped the alarm off and that had no effect at all. It's always good for an alarm company if you rip the alarm off and it doesn't do anything. So yeah, it started up on the Fireblade tank. All the fitments are the same for the 954 as they are to here. Oh, we got a nice TL there. And it started up straight away, so I was well happy. Changed the fuel pump. And she was well away. Got it MOT'd, done a couple of other little bits to it just to get comfortable with the bike, and then obviously the accident happened with only a month or so of me having it. So yeah, £4 was a bargain. Time and energy, burning my brain out quite a bit trying to get it sorted, but you know, sometimes these things are worth it. So when the insurance company phoned up, I was thinking that they'd probably give me a similar valuation or less, because we know what insurance companies are like. Insurance company valued it, you ready? At £9,000. £9,000. Which obviously I was not expecting. I was expecting a battle on my hands. So straight away I said, yep, I'll accept that. And then we spoke about it going to an insurance broker's and my opportunity to buy it back. So when I asked how much it would go to insurance brokers for, considering it's a £9 bike that I pay £4 for, they said it would be 2,700. So I said, well, rather than that, why don't you give me 2,700? I'll give you 2,700, sorry, and I'll keep the bike. And they agreed. So it's a category N, non-structural, and this happened about 10 days before the RC event was about to happen. So in my eyes, blimey, I've picked my RC 51. I've got an RC event coming up. I'm now, if I can get it sorted in time, able to ride my own RC at my own RC event. So I quickly sourced a new exhaust. Arrow pipes are just not easy to come by, I'm sure you can imagine. And foot peg holder was probably the most difficult one. Second hand, left hand foot peg holder, not with a gear lever, not with a foot peg, just literally the hanger to bolt everything else to. The cheapest I found second hand was £250. £250 second hand. So big shout out to David Silver Spares, because they managed to source me a new one, because they buy all the Honda's old stock. They sent me a new one within 24 hours for just over £100. So of course, these bits are all over the country. I can't just go and pick them up from my local dealership because there aren't any in any dealerships, the majority of these parts. So I had to get the hurry up from people. Can you send it today? Will I get it tomorrow? got the exhaust, got the left hand foot hanger, put the bike back together. I've now got a set of Venom high-rise titanium end cans. Not a massive fan, if I'm honest. Preferred the arrows, they're more period to this bike. But it gets the bike up and going. And what it's left me able to do now is to sit and think what I'm going to do long term with this bike. I've obviously got a bit of spare money now to get it going again. Look at these idiots. And hopefully get it running. Now, if anyone's ever crashed a bike, put it back on road, to me it feels completely different. But straight away the tick over was quite low. Now bear in mind, I rode it to get its MOT the day before the RC event, which is just around the corner from my work, and rode it home. The next time I'd ride it was 160 miles to Donington the very next morning. So straight away my mind was a bit, okay, something not quite right with this. The clutch is very bitey now, it's either on or off. And it's caught me out a few times at traffic lights and roundabouts and stuff where I've actually revved the life out of it to try and get moving, but it's me, I'm just used to the blade, just drop it and go. It still handles beautifully. I didn't notice these mirrors wobbling, but I've had all that off yesterday because it looked like there was a fuel leak when I come back from Donington. Well, I pulled the tank off, checked where I put the pump in and checked the gasket and checked all the breather pipes. Couldn't find anything wrong, and I put it back together this morning and started it out, left it running for a little while, and absolutely no fuel anywhere. So I don't know if that was a result of the accident. I don't know if it's fuel stuck in the breather pipes where it's gone over on its side. I'm not sure. I do love this bike. It's just so much fun. The blade is just easy. You got to put a bit of effort into this. Keep it in the right gear. It gets over, in my mind, that bit more than the blade. But it's so much more rewarding. Maybe I'm childish and immature enough that it's the sound that sticks the hairs on the back of my neck up, and it makes that, just makes coming into a roundabout on the brakes. These brakes are brilliant. Leading it over one way, sticking it back the other, make sure in your right gear, and just hitting that throttle and just feeling that front end go light, bike scream, that cam geared V-twin, big thumping 1000cc V-twin, just make that noise, and you know what I'm talking about. If you've ever ridden a big V-twin, you know what I'm talking about. Nothing compares. genuinely worried now. I'm going to take the journey I did that fateful Easter Sunday morning. A lot of you might be thinking, oh, so what? And it didn't cause me that much damage. It didn't cause the bike that much damage. But it definitely damaged my confidence. Yes, I've done 2 trips up to Donington and back, which is about 400 miles, and 1 trip up to Leicester and back, about another 300 miles, all in a short space of time. But I've yet to ride the road where the guy pulled out on me and caused me a lot of grief. I'm going to do it today. Same bike, same road. The weather was just like this, same conditions. And I'm hoping it's a case of, as they say, get back on the bike. Or get back on the horse? What is it? Get back on the road and knocked you off. Just look out for new drivers that don't see you in a bright green, bright red, headlights on, loud V-twin motorcycle. Past Bloomsbury College, where Ben, the guy who helped me get the bike back home that day, that's where he works. Random act of kindness for the month, he said. All the way back home, which is no mean feat, an hour's drive. One of the days I came up this road, coming up to meet Ken, I could see a car sitting at this petrol station. I was thinking any moment, oh, he's going to pull out on me, he's going to pull out on me. It was nice and easy, and he didn't. He stayed there. He pulled out behind me and he followed me. And he watched the accident in front of him, and he's the main guy that come out and said, I've watched you and you're behaving and sitting right behind you. I watched you come past me at a decent speed, and I sat behind you at a decent speed. This road is notorious, and here we go now. We're approaching. Nice. Quite a few bikes there. Right, here we go. This is the crossroads. So I'm sat behind a car like I am now. The car's turned left and the guy's come from the side there and wiped me out. And I made it through unscathed today. For the first time.